The first reading is the story of one of the very early kings of Israel by the name of Ahaz. He had several wives, had been king for about 10 years, and had no children. And he became very, very sick. And as you can imagine, part of the seriousness of the sickness was that there was no heir. And so the prophet Isaiah came in and told him he would be cured, and then also told him as a sign that a young woman would conceive and bear a child. And the young woman was a reference to his youngest wife. And she did conceive a child, and that was the sign, and he got well, and they had the whole thing settled. After that, the next thing that happened historically was Alexander. Alexander and the Greeks invaded through the whole area, conquered most everything there, and when Alexander died, Israel, the area of Israel, was part of the Seleucid kingdom, which was administered from Damascus. The Ptolemy kingdom was administered from Alexandria. And Greek became the general language. So what the Jews decided was that the scriptures needed to be translated into Greek, because that was the language most people were using. So in the city of Alexandria, a group of the scholars got together to translate the text into Greek. And when they came to this particular passage, whoever was doing the translation saw a young woman will conceive and bear a child. And rightly, the man thought, what kind of miracle is that? Young women are conceiving and bearing children all the time. And so he took the word young woman and he changed it to virgin, because that would be a miracle. So he changed the text. And that text became very, very well known in the community of Israel. And it is that Greek text that was used at the time of Jesus. The thing that is remarkable about it for me is that when God fulfilled the prophecy, he went with their mistake. A virgin did conceive and bear a child. And what that is a sign to me is something about God's dealing with history and something about God's dealing with us individually. And God has this plan for the universe, and the goal of his plan never changes. But we have almost a charismatic ability to mess up that plan. And as we do, with the peace and comfort you ever get from a GPS, he simply says quietly, we are rerouting your program. And he simply sets it up again. And that's exactly what he did. Then they changed the translation. He absolutely went with the thing. But I think it reminds us in our own lives, we oftentimes give ourselves credit for the ability to really destroy his plan. And we don't have that ability. No one has that ability to destroy his plan or to destroy his plan for us individually. He has no trouble adjusting to whatever goes on in anyone's life. And it's something to remind ourselves, if you're ever dealing with people, one of the great tragedies of my life as a priest, to be honest, is the number of people who I've encountered because of problems they've had either with clergy or with sin or with whatever, who actually believe they can no longer be saved. There is no such thing. You don't have the ability to make that big a mistake. No one does. God simply reroutes the whole thing, and there is another way for you to get there. It is God's intention that every person should be saved, and every person should live with him for all eternity. And he has the ability to make that possibility for any person, at any time, at any point of life.